Love. The thing that makes you blind to a supposedly harmless crush that turns out to be anything but innocent. Today on Our Space, the fine art of not giving a hoot when someone finally proves they don't deserve you. My girlfriend admitted she had a crush when I cornered her. I let her beg me and then shattered her heart. This is going to end up being very long. I'll try my best not to ramble, but it's going to be hard because there's a lot to talk about if I want to narrate my own experience with a cheating partner. It might be one of the worst things that I have had to deal with in my adult life because it is hard putting so much of yourself into a partner and then having them throw it all in your face by not treating you the same way that you treated them. I loved Emma so much, but she broke my heart and all of that love went out the window. Before this entire thing went down, I, 29 male, had dated Emma, 27 female, for 5 years. I wasn't quite ready to get married, but I knew that I wanted to get married to her when I was ready. She knew the way I felt about her. I wasn't the kind of guy that she had to try to compel to show his emotions. I always wore my heart on my sleeve around her. I was also very good at communicating when it came to her because I knew how much I wanted things to work between the two of us. This episode taught me a very valuable lesson. I consider myself to be relatively young, even as I'm about to turn 30. I've learned that in relationships you can put in 200%, but that doesn't mean that is what you're going to get in return. I'm not saying you shouldn't put in your all in romantic relationships, but when you do, keep an eye out for how much energy the other person is returning. If it doesn't come anywhere close to matching yours, there's no reason why you should still be with them. That is where I messed up, because I kept trying to give her a chance to do better, and in the end, it was a waste of time. Emma worked in the hospitality industry at the time, and she got a very good job offer from a major hotel chain. The problem was that it wasn't where we lived. It was in another city, and because of how good the offer was and how good it could be for her career, I had no opposition to it. Of course, I've learned to hate long-distance relationships like most people, but in this case, I felt like we were going to be able to make it work. I worked remotely, so I knew I could move over to her city at some point, but I wasn't very eager to pack up my entire life and move to a new city because of a woman. Yes, I loved her, but I liked it to be smart at the same time, and it didn't seem like it would make for a smart move. So I stayed. She didn't have much of an issue with that. When she first moved, she was always busy, which I understood, so we were only able to talk towards the end of the day. However, even after her schedule lightened up and she was less choked at work, we didn't talk as much as I hoped we would. She was always tired or stressed out from work, which was frustrating. I work remotely, so I didn't want to talk too much. I couldn't claim that I was more stressed out than her. However, at a point, it became clear to me that she wasn't expressing as much affection for me as I was expressing for her. I felt like it was an out of sight, out of mind kind of situation, and because I wanted to try my best to make sure that we made things work out, I let her know that I was coming to see her. She was excited about that, and when I was there, she was happy to see me. It felt like old times again. That's part of why I hate long-distance relationships, because it felt like the distance was the only thing that changed. I was there for the entire week, staying at her place alone while she was at work, and when she came back, she was always in a good mood to see me. She was never stressed out or anything, at least not in an obvious way. We were both sad when I had to return, but when I did, I at least felt a little more convinced about our relationship because she reminded me what it felt like and why I had fallen for her in the first place. That didn't last very long, sadly, because very soon after I returned home, it went back to the same thing. It wasn't bad 100% of the time, but it wasn't the kind of energy that I'd expect from someone who really loved me as much as I loved her. I never hesitated to show it either. Because of the way I felt, I talked with her multiple times. I really wanted us to figure out how to fix things, but she never had a real explanation for why she was acting the way she was, beyond being tired or stressed out or on her period. I let it slide, but it was only a few weeks later that I told her I wanted to break up. I felt like I had enough. Unfortunately, once she started crying and the reality of the situation was setting into me, I took her back with all the begging she did. I felt like I didn't want to lose her, but I wanted to be loved. Another breakup happened, and that time, it lasted about a week before we chose to get back together. After that, we went over a year without an issue, and it felt like I was just going to weather the storm until we were back together for good. The problem was when she came home for 2 weeks. Things felt normal, but I was compelled to check her phone, and that was when I saw that she had a lot of pictures she took in the workplace of a certain coworker of hers. The pictures didn't have her in them, and he wasn't the only coworker she had taken unaware photos of, but he was definitely the one who showed up in the most. She had mentioned him to me a few times, but I never felt like there was anything going on there. I decided to confront her and ask her about it. According to her, he hated taking pictures of himself, so she was helping him do that, especially because he had said that he wanted to start posting on Instagram again. I couldn't figure out why she felt she had to help him do that, but I took her explanation only because I didn't have anything to the contrary. I was on alert though, because it made me feel uncomfortable, especially because when we would go out, she would never take pictures of me, unlike how she used to do when we first got together. It was such a stark change in her behavior, and it wasn't something that I was going to let go unnoticed. That's pretty much all of the background that you actually need, because this is the point when things actually went down. I went over to see her, and I stayed in her city for 2 weeks. The reservations I had about her were still there, and because we were in a long-distance relationship, I knew that the only time I would be able to find out what was actually going on in her life was when I would potentially check her phone. The thing is, I noticed that she was keeping hold of it a lot more than she usually did. She wouldn't leave it with me in the room for a mere minute. I knew that there was something she didn't want me to know about. I realized how true that was when I noticed she would angle her phone away from me or hide under the duvet with the excuse that it was cold when she wanted to text a certain person. And I knew that because one of the times that she had angled her phone away, I saw that she was texting the same coworker, but with his name saved with a cute nickname. That was when I realized that I was going to have to try and export her messages and read through everything. I wasn't going to get enough time to read through her messages on her phone, which was why exporting was the way to go. The bad thing was that the day I finally chose to grab her phone and export the messages from their chat, which should have taken me no more than a minute, was when she caught me. And I think it was exactly because she realized her phone wasn't on her, so she went looking for it and found me with it. She asked what I was doing, and I didn't have an excuse in that moment, especially because she saw me in the chat with her coworker. I initially stumbled over my words, but when she took her phone and left, I realized that there was nothing to lose anymore, so I confronted her. I told her that I had been caught, and that much was obvious. But the only reason that I had resorted to such sleazy behavior was because I knew for a fact that she was hiding something from me, and it had to do with him. I let her know that I wasn't going to take her at saying that nothing was going on as an excuse because I wasn't going to believe it. I told her that I had seen her hiding whenever she was messaging him. I knew something was going on between the two of them, and I wanted to know what it was. That was when she looked at me, and I saw her face drop. She admitted to me that there was a crush between them. I asked her whether she meant that he had a crush on her, but she said it went both ways. My girlfriend, who I was in a relationship with, was telling me that she had a crush on another guy. In that moment, everything made sense to me. It explained why she had become more distant and why she didn't take pictures of me anymore. She had someone else to care about. To say it hurt would be an understatement. I felt so betrayed by her. Relationships have never been complicated to me. Pick someone who makes you feel a special way and put your all into showing your love. That was what I did, and it was what I really hoped would be done back to me. But sadly, that was far from what I received. The moment things went long distance, I was effed. But I had no idea. I couldn't say much to it, but I had questions. I asked her how long it had been like that, because when I had asked if there was anything between them when I saw the pictures on her phone, she gave me an excuse. I asked her how far they had gone with one another. I asked her why she couldn't just end things with me if she knew someone else was making her feel special. Of course, every answer she gave me was trying to save her butt. I told her that she didn't need to worry about making the hard decision of choosing between the two of us. She could just go for him because I was done with her. I started to pack my bags since I planned to go to a hotel for the rest of my stay, and that didn't go down well with her. She begged me and said that I should stay. She literally got on her knees and started pleading with me. She said that she was sorry and that she had done it because she was bored. She knew it was wrong, and she had tried to put a cap on it, how far it went. I told her it didn't matter because she entertained it way beyond where she should have in the first place, and that was what hurt me. It had completely destroyed any trust that I could have if we decided to go on in the future. That didn't matter to her. She kept begging. She said that she'd do whatever it took to rebuild the trust that she had made me lose. She said she was going to cut him off. She told him that she was sorry and that she needed me. I let her know that for as long as we continued to be in a long-distance relationship and for as long as he continued to work in the same establishment as her, there was no hope for us. I told her that even if she fixed those issues, there was still no hope for us because she had emotionally cheated on me with this guy, and that was all that really mattered to me at the end of the day. I've never seen her as distraught as she was in that moment, and up until now, it was hard for me to understand. If I meant that much to her, then why did she choose to start falling for someone else? Why was a woman with a long-time boyfriend having a crush on her coworker and actually entertaining the crush? It didn't make any sense to me. especially with how much she was crying when it all fell apart for her. I expected her to feel some relief because I had helped her make a decision. She could go for him without remorse, but it didn't seem to make her feel any better. I could barely hear her through all of her tears, but she insisted that she had made a mistake. She said I was her soulmate, and she never envisioned a future without me. She had done something stupid because she was lonely and missing me, and in the distance was difficult for her to cope with. But throughout everything, she knew that I was the one for her, and she never wanted that to change. At a point, her begging began to irritate me. I just continued to pack my things. I made it clear that I had always given my all to her, and she acknowledged that. I told her I didn't deserve to be treated that way she had treated me, so I was going to end things regardless. I called the Lyft to come back and pick me up, despite the fact that she tried to physically hold me back. I broke free and left. By the time I got to the hotel, I had 13 missed calls from her and a bunch of messages from her begging me to just let us talk about things and figure out a solution. At that moment, one thing I realized was that she could show how much the relationship meant to her when it was about to end, but in the actual life of the relationship, she had been passive and allowed someone else to get close to her. All I needed before was to feel wanted, but she didn't give me that. As much as I loved her, I was deeply hurt and I wanted to hurt her back. I know it's not the most lover boy approach to take, but if you've dated someone for that long and they betray you in such a trivial fashion, it's hard to stay on the moral high ground. Once I had gotten back to my city, I answered one of her many messages where she had been trying to reach out to me, and I gave her my full attention. She said that we should talk so that we could figure out how to fix things, and I told her that I was open to that. I could tell her how happy she was to hear that. The first thing I told her was that she was meant to have zero contact with her coworker from that point on. I didn't want to ever hear anything about him. She said that wasn't going to be a problem at all. But before we concluded on that, I told her that there was actually no way I could believe that she wasn't in contact with him anymore, especially because they worked in the same place and I was so far away. I said that quitting her job was the only way we could move on, and while she tried to find an alternative, I stuck to my guns. She agreed that she'd quit. To be honest, I never really thought she'd do it. It had never seemed like I meant that much to her. So for someone who I thought was a passive partner to suddenly think that I was worth quitting her job over was strange. I didn't dwell on it too much, but it hurt that none of this was something that she could do back when we were together. I couldn't understand it, and if any of you can, I'd actually like to know. She confirmed to me that she had quit her job at the place she was working and she was going to find another job. Ordinarily, that would have been enough for me, but I wasn't in a good mood and I wanted more. I told her that the truth was I didn't feel like I could ever feel settled and trusting in a relationship with her for as long as she was so far away. That was exactly what enabled her to have a crush on someone, and I felt like it could happen at a new job. She insisted that she'd never allow anything similar to happen, but I told her that I didn't believe her. I had trusted her before, and my trust had been toyed with. I let her know that she didn't have to, because it was too much of an ask. But the only way that I could keep dating her was if she came back to her city. Being far away was never going to work for me, and I had learned that because of how she had behaved. She apologized and said that she'd come back. She said that I was worth it, and she wasn't going to do anything to lose me again. Once again, hearing the person that you thought was the love of your life express such clear feelings about you felt good. It just sucked that this same person had already taken my love for granted. I couldn't believe it, but once her tenancy over there was done with, she flew back to our city. I met her once, and we kept things cordial. The second time we met, I decided to hit her with it. I told her that I had been thinking, and I realized that even while she was in the same city with me, I simply couldn't trust her. She was shocked to hear me say that, and she was very convinced for like the first 5 minutes that I was joking. I assured her that I wasn't, and I told her that I was sorry for the inconvenience. She couldn't believe me, and she asked why I hadn't told her that before she uprooted her life and quit her job. I told her that I simply didn't know that I couldn't trust her until she was back in her city. I let her know that I could have strung her along, but I wanted to give her the truth. She clearly became very upset. She started crying and shouting in the park that we had met in. She was making a pretty big scene, but I had expected it. I didn't react much, but I just sat there. I tried to get her to sit down, especially when people started recording, but she wouldn't have it. She said that I had done it on purpose. She said I had chosen to hurt her on purpose. It was at that point that the opening was too good to let go of, and I confirmed to her that it had been my plan all along. I told her that she deserved nothing less than what I had given her. I supported her intensely through the journey that took her to that new job, with my money paying for many major aspects of it. She hadn't looked at any of that and had chosen to be selfish and betray me instead. I let her know that it was simply my own turn to hurt her, and I was glad to have done that. When she began to make too much of a scene, I got up and left. She walked after me, yelling, but I just kept going, even when she shoved me from behind. Needless to say, she came to my house multiple times, but I never let her in. She sent me voice messages drunk and crying, and I've left those unread. She sent me long paragraphs expressing her hurt, and for one of them, I just sent a laughing emoji. She's been broken, but I don't care. We've both been hurt now, so that equal things out, and that's all that matters to me. 5 years of giving her all, and she turns out to be nothing more than a bored kid playing with feelings. Long distance didn't break your relationship, she did. Sneaking around, hiding her phone, falling for a coworker while pretending to care about you? That's not stressed or tired, that's selfish. Lazy betrayal. Walking away, letting her scream, sending her messages on read? That's not cruel, that's exactly what she earned. Do you have a similar story? We can't wait to hear it. Share it with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.